keeps her personal life very personal. We know her from when she used to be reporting Kiswahili news. By the way, if you knew Kanze Dena when she was doing news, when she was anchoring Kiswahili news, please meza vitamins. What is the name of your firstborn child? Because those were the days. You just hear Name Kanze Dena, you know, mpenzi mtazamaji. And then she also went on to be the government spokesperson, a role that she, you know, played very well, and it was a good job, yeah. And she recently retired from that. And she's been getting on a lot of podcasts and a lot of talk shows and just talking about her now. We know about her career, but about her personal life, it's been very, very hush-hush. Now, she tells us the story about when she first got pregnant. She says she had just finished high school, a year or two after high school, and then she found out she was pregnant. And coming from a very conservative background, that was where, what watasema nini? I'm going to be killed now. This is it for me. And it was just a lot of fear. And because she was now joining university, she decided to actually get hostels at uni, as opposed to, you know, commuting back and forth, because if she was living at home, obviously her parents and relatives would have figured out, hey, baby girl is pregnant. So she manages to get a space in the hostels at school, and then fast forward, she actually goes into labor. She had gone to visit her auntie and her grandma, and in that process, she got into labor, begged her auntie not to tell anybody, took herself, while in labor, took herself to Pumwani Hospital, and she had already, before the birth, she had talked to somebody, a counselor, who had arranged for the adoption of her child, because that was the only way out. In her mind, that's just the only way out. I give birth to this child, and then it gets adopted to a healthy home, because personally, I cannot. That was the plan. And she says that during the delivery, the midwife, or the person in charge of the adoption, got called away, just something. And the person that was left behind was not briefed. You know, when the child is up for adoption, you don't like let them spend time with the mother so that they don't get attached. So the person left with Kanze did not get the brief. Kanze Dena gives birth, and this person is just like, here's your bundle of joy. Here you go. And she just looks at this child. It was a baby girl, and it was love at first sight. And fast forward, the auntie, who was told not to say anything, decided, ain't no way you're going to give birth to a child and give it up for adoption. When you don't have family members. And she went and told the mom, and as she's already bonded with the child, her mom and her relatives show up at the hospital like, what do you mean adoption? What the hell is happening? But she says, unfortunately, the child did pass away due to afterbirth complications. But she says it was a good decision overall. Yeah, she had planned for adoption, and then ended up just keeping her child and falling in love with the child, and then a brutal occurrence of where this child now passes away. Currently, she does have 2 sons. She is thriving. She looks good. She looks happy, and we're happy for her. But it just goes to show the responsibility and just the maturity in which this was handled. There are so many children who are left in dustbins, in toilets, in just very, very sad states. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, I don't think I can take care of this child, leave them in a safe space. Talk to somebody beforehand. Talk to adoption agencies. Just don't leave your child out in the wild for them to die. That is just very cruel. They did not ask for it. But overall, it was a very touchy story.
Yeah, I feel like every time someone talks about leaving a child and dumping a child, I am taken back to, was I in class 1 or class 2? I can't even remember. And one thing with the school, it was a massive school, and there were kids in the field. There was like a lunch break, that's 11 before lunch. Guys were out in the field, and apparently they heard a baby crying.
Oh,
so when they tried to trace down where the baby was crying from, they finally found the kid. It was barely a child. It was like one of those, it's not fully a child, but it's like, you know, it's a fetus that's not fully developed, and they'd been wrapped in a bag, and it was red. It was this red because of the burning. The kid had been there for a long time, just burning in the sun, and then half the body was like in a bag. And I was so traumatized. I was so traumatized that up until now, I still struggle a little bit with like babies, especially newborn babies. I struggle. And I feel like this was such a mature decision, because oftentimes when you're young like that, she's clearly just in teen, you're just like in your 18. I mean, you're just getting into uni, you're very, very young. But the way she was, you know, moving, the way her mind was working was so mature. Not a lot of people actually are able to do this. Even the courage to make appointments with adoption agency, the smartness to actually have all these things prepared instead of now giving birth to your child and looking for a solution. Like there's so much, the selflessness of, I can't take care of this child, so I'm going to let someone else take care of this. Like, there is so much that's happening here that is so exemplary in how to deal with a crisis, because if you're not ready for a child, it's a crisis for you. So I love that she dealt with it with such maturity. But even something that makes my heart warm is the fact that her parents showed up. Like, they're just like, Ati, what's going on? No.
What do you mean?
This kid is going home. What do you mean? That level of love, you know, a lot of times we suffer, because I can imagine the trauma she'd been going through during the whole time she was pregnant. If she had shared this information with her parents earlier on, maybe a lot more stuff would have changed. The circumstances would have completely changed. However, the fact that they still embraced her and they were willing to take up the responsibility of raising this child is very commendable. So there's so many lessons here, including just tell them, see the reaction, then make decisions after. You know what I mean? But yeah, such an exemplary story of how she dealt with all this and how the family came through for her. Very, very beautiful story.
True.
And now, speaking about mother